All right, everyone, we start off today with a litany of lies from Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, of course, set up in, I believe it was the 1910s, originally because a person was Jewish and happened to be convicted of a crime, and they were saying that it was all about hating Jews, even though there's pretty real evidence that he was actually guilty of the crime. And this has happened with a bunch of activistic movements over time. We are going to cut this argument apart into little chunks and then try to, sort of rebut it. First, he says that Judaism originally was opposed on a religious basis. So the fact that Judaism existed as a religion was oppressed. Fundamentally, that's actually correct. I would point out that virtually every other religion in the world has been similarly oppressed. Christians, Muslims, Hindus, various pagan groups. Everyone's been goddamn oppressed. So this does not make Judaism unique. So we'll parse that part of the argument apart first. The fact that you practice the Jewish religion is meaningless. I can practice Judaism. If I want, tomorrow, I can go to the local synagogue and say, hey, I want to be a Jew. I want to have my mitzvah and all of these other things and become a Jew. It means absolutely nothing. You could have a kosher diet, eat matzo soup, which by the way is actually really good, and so forth, wear a yarmulke. You don't need anyone's permission to do this. It's between you and God, according to the people of the book, as they say. Then he says, but then anti-Semitism, which originally was against the religion, morphed. Then it was about being ethnically Jewish. Yes, indeed. Ethnic Jews, indeed, were shuttled from country to country over an extended period of time. This climaxes with World War II, the creation of the State of Israel. We'll get that to that in a minute. But the ethnicity itself was persecuted over that period of time. And I was thinking to myself, okay, again, you're claiming a uniqueness to this particular concept. You're trying to encapsulate it under the term anti-Semitism. Is there anti-Irishism because the Irish were persecuted against, especially in the United States, for decades and decades? Anti-Italianism? Anti-Gypsyism? Some of them ended up in death camps in World War II alongside the Jews. So did atheists. The antisocial, I'm not exactly sure 100% what that means. Homosexuals, and other groups of people. Jehovah's Witnesses, they were persecuted by the Nazis too. It wasn't a uniquely Jewish thing. It is true that Jews were shuttled around from country to country. Fun story, actually. The Jews were forced out of virtually all of Europe during the Black Plague. It was suspected that they were poisoning wells and things like that and giving people the plague. Most of them relocated to what is now the Polish region. That area actually had a much lower rate of plague throughout the course of the Black Death. Looks like an asymptomatic variant probably broke out. Sort of what happened during the Ebola pandemic, actually. It wasn't science or technology that saved the human race from something that could have been 10,000 times worse. It was nature, it was evolution. Very, very interesting. Then he says, and then people said, well, the religion is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, with those Christ killers over there. There's nothing wrong with the ethnicity. Really, it's about the nation of Israel. And so he actually claims that anti-Zionism is a form of anti-Semitism. I thought to myself, how goddamn fucking laughable. This is hilarious. Because the largest protests I've ever seen against the Israeli state are among Orthodox Jews. They are practicing Orthodox Jews. They are Jewish, ethnically and religiously, and they oppose the state of Israel. There's a religious basis for this. Under one interpretation of Judaistic canon, Israel should not exist simply because the Moshiach has not come back yet. So, religiously speaking, it makes sense why they would oppose him. Secondly, you have the civic component. Some people simply argue against the Jewish state, against the state of Israel, in the gubernatorial sense. So, it's the government that's the problem. They don't have a problem with the existence of an Israeli state, or they're ambivalent towards its existence, rather. They simply have a problem with what the government's doing. They're not a fan of Netanyahu. Apparently, you are now anti-Jew if you oppose anything that Netanyahu does. Well, well, then I suppose these people would consider me anti-Jew simply because I don't agree with all the things that the Israeli state is doing. I do not believe that that region, Israel, Palestine, and so forth, is the Holy Land. It's full of holes, mostly made by rockets and missiles and shit like that. Beyond that, I don't believe in the very concept. It makes absolutely no sense. He then goes even further. He says something even more insane, actually. Yeah, as though that wasn't enough. He rambles briefly about the Crusades and talks about how that was anti-Jewish. No, fuckwit. It was not anti-Jewish. The Crusades were against Islam, mainly speaking. Do I agree with all of the actions of the Christian Crusaders? No, they sacked Byzantium at one point, actually, and killed a bunch of their fellow Christians at one time. So no, they are certainly not blameless. And then they lapsed into paganism, actually, after a while, and the Catholic Church mainly slaughtered them, and then the Crusades ended. But they were effective troops against the invasion of Islam. Islamic crusaders, which is literally what you would term them, had been sacking Christian cities for years. They were killing hundreds of thousands of people. Templars decided to ride out and put a kibosh to that. The Crusades began. Supposedly, this is a big evil thing in Christendom. Now, I want to make it clear. I do not hate Jews. I have no problem with Jews. No, food is really, really good. I believe in food diplomacy more than anything else, actually, because, it's sort of a no-brainer. Everyone has to eat. It's sort of a unifying feature within mankind. I have no problem with the existence of a state of Israel. Uh, Neither did the Nazis, ironically enough. They, in fact, attempted to create it before the British created it. You want to have a homeland for specifically your people? That's perfectly fine. I would like to have my own as well, but that's beyond the point. That being said, the Israeli government has been a bully within the region for a very long time, has hauled off and unilaterally decided to attack other countries. Now, why do I care? Do I care if a bunch of people in the Middle East decide to destroy one another's infrastructure? I'm hoping there are no civilian casualties, although there typically are. No, I don't have a problem with that. Oh, you blew up somebody's factory? Well, I mean, I'm sad for the casualties, but I don't give a shit about the fucking factory. It means nothing to me. I'm here in the United States and North America. I'm nowhere near the Middle East, and none of your countries are technologically sophisticated enough to actually harm me, nor do you have the legal latitude to persecute me. Do whatever the hell you want, my dude. Do I believe in supporting these particular actions? No. It's not necessary for us to do so. It's not proper for us to do so. Not a single one of our founders would support the situation, and it is ethically, well, and ethically wrong. Um, they didn't, yeah, unless it involved piracy or something like that, our founders generally had a hands-off policy with regards to these sort of maneuvers. We shouldn't be arming anyone. We shouldn't be funding anyone. Just leave it alone. That's basically what I would say. But for the ADL's, leader, to say, well, there's been this morphing of anti-Semitism over time. And then, by the way, the Crusades had something to do with slaughtering Jews. That's completely wrong. That's completely ahistorical. Look through his goddamn clip here. That's not what the Crusades were about. It has nothing to do with it. Yeah, there were Jews that were expelled from some of these countries. That was a secondary effect. Christian crusaders were after people that were practicing Islam, actually. And to say that race, religion, and then nationhood somehow are connected together by the same blanket term anti-Semitism is completely wrong as well. Criticism of the state of Israel is not Jewish hate. Criticism of groups, I mean, look at the gypsies, for example. And you're not uniquely persecuted in any way if you're Jewish. Gypsies have been shuttled around from country to country. Again, the Irish, the Italians, gypsies. Look at how black people were treated in parts of the world for several centuries. Look at how Asian people were treated when they made it to the United States. Things like that. People tend to be marginalized within countries in which they are not part of the native majority. It's a form of proto-natalism, if you would put it that way. There are stores, for example, that you can go to in Asia, where if you're white, you're not allowed to shop there. No, no white people need apply in spots in Korea and Japan, actually. It's their culture, so I don't really give a shit. I would like to buy your wares, but I'm not allowed to do so. Look at the way that white people are treated here, now, today, in parts of the Western world. We are effectively marginalized. We're subject to rules that do not apply to, generally, to other groups of people. For example, if I were to make a video that said, white cracker bitch ass honky, I'm not going to get in any trouble on YouTube for that. Perfectly fine. And it'd probably be funny. But if I made the N-word show, all of a sudden, my channel would disappear. Think about that for a moment. There's a little bit of a difference between the two. That's about all. Peace out.